Welcome to Comic and Screen. My name is Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book. And in this video, we're going to talk some more Supergirl. So in our last video, we talked about the season premiere that introduced Superman into this universe. And now we got a follow-up episode. Episode 2 is The Last Children of Krypton, directed by Glenn Winter. Glenn Winter directs a lot of the CW, DC superhero shows, especially like the pilot episodes and stuff. So he was on this one again. And we got another dose of Superman. We got to see them working together, so we're going to give our reactions to this episode. So first, we're going to start with Supergirl and Superman. So at the beginning of the episode, they're doing some super heroics. They're going and saving the day in some things in National City, and they're kind of having a really good time doing it. There's a fire. There's the rescue over here, over there. We see the team up. They end up having this sort of hashtag too much fun because they're really enjoying saving things together. So again, like I said before, I like the addition of Superman here, and I'm open to multiple versions of Superman. But I will say that one thing that caught me off guard a little bit with him in this episode was they were sort of having too much fun. And what I mean by that was, like, this was a fire, or they were stopping some criminals and kind of roughing them up, and then like later there's what seems to be a suicide jumper, and Superman and Supergirl are like enjoying themselves and like cracking jokes and stuff. And to me it was a little weird because, you know, those are serious situations, and for somebody it's a tragedy. So I thought that they were almost handling it too lightly, but we did get some more Superman, and I always like seeing Superman. So again, I'm not totally down on it, but it did catch me off guard a little bit that they were sort of so jokey about what should be serious situations.
Yeah, I would say that probably doesn't ring true to how the character would be written. If anything, maybe they could have Superman kind of being a little bit of the voice of reason in those scenes and saying, this is serious stuff. You know, if you joke around at a time where you shouldn't be, it could cost someone their life, and maybe show Kara that lesson, you know?
Yeah, and they did make things a little bit more serious later in the episode, so maybe they were going for kind of a contrast. And the I listened to the Supergirl radio podcast, and they talked about how maybe this was intentional on the writer's part, that they made it too over the top, happy-go-lucky at the beginning, so that it would contrast with the seriousness later, with Hank and Superman sort of getting a little bit more worried about, oh no, this Metallo thing might be, you know, pretty hard to handle, and there, you know, ends up being kind of the kryptonite attacks and stuff. So maybe they meant to show the contrast, but to me they sort of maybe overdid the contrast. But again, I like having Superman in this world, and it was nice to see Supergirl sort of have that connection with her cousin.
Yeah, for sure. Those scenes did work well. I'm still not 100% sold on this guy as Superman, like, but he's got, you know, some of the kind of Superman chops down for his scenes and things like that. But there's just something about him, the way maybe it's just his physique or his face a little bit when he's Superman. I'm just not buying it 100%. But once again, I did like the scenes that he was in as Clark Kent very much.
Right. Yeah, I agree on that. So we had Metallo, you mentioned. So we have Project Cadmus, creating Metallo, and then they end up creating a second Metallo. And so we have a couple Metallo fights and the kryptonite weapons. So I thought it worked pretty well. I wasn't super thrilled with the final fight. I liked aspects of the final fight, but they made these kind of kryptonite shields for Superman and Supergirl, so Wynn made those. And I thought that was a little bit tacky because like it only protected them kind of right in the middle of their chest, and it seemed like there's big vulnerabilities if they had fired the kryptonite a little bit higher, a little bit lower.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we did get Metallo, so I thought it was cool to see a full episode with him. And really the more intriguing thing is Project Cadmus overall. That seems like it's going to be the larger arc in terms of a villain.
Well, that's got a lot of potential from the books and things as well. You know, the Flash has Star Labs, and then having Cadmus and things for this series really could work well. What did you think of the homage that they did kind of to the Crisis on Infinite Earths cover on the you know, advertising and things like that?
Yeah, and the scene, so he's, you know, carrying Supergirl, and it looks like the cover back from when Supergirl had died. Spoiler alert, from 30 years ago. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I definitely liked the homage, and I don't know how many episodes we're going to get with Superman and Supergirl, so I thought that was, you know, good to get that homage in there. And it was a real threat to Supergirl because of the kryptonite, so she was in
Right.
real danger, even though obviously she wasn't going to die. In one of their promotional pictures, though, I think it was not really the screenshot from the episode, but it was like a the same image that they took for a poster or something.
Yeah.
Superman looks kind of nonchalant. Like he's sort of like, "Oh yeah, I'm carrying Supergirl. She's dying." And like, in the comic, Superman is just, broken open and he's
Bawling.
crying.
Yeah,
Yeah, has so much
yeah.
emotion on his face in the comic. So I thought it was weird that the Superman actor for that image didn't have more emotion as he was holding her.
Well, that kind of gets back to my point here. I mean, I think the guy's a good actor, and especially his Clark Kent is really grabbing me. But I think his
Hmm.
Superman definitely needs some work, and I think even more so that if he's not going to be in every episode, when he shows up, it needs to be bang on because you just
Hmm.
want to really believe that he is Superman in this universe. So it's getting better, I think, but there's still a bit of work to do.
Yeah. A couple things that I really liked in the episode and that I like in the show overall is I really like Hank Henshaw, David Harewood
Hmm.
playing Hank Henshaw, and John
Yeah,
Jones and Martian Manhunter. And
yeah.
again, I liked him in this episode. I always like his scenes. And here they continued on the tension between Superman and Hank about controlling the kryptonite and whether it's safe to have kryptonite. And at the end of the episode, they come to a resolution on that subplot where Hank, trusts Superman and says like, "Okay, I'm going to let you take our kryptonite away." So
Mm.
that did come to a resolution, and I liked those scenes together.
I like that as well because in the Justice League cartoon and in the comic, I'm pretty sure they always got along. So it's kind of neat to
Hmm.
take characters that normally would just you assume they're on the same team and kind of put some tension in there. And kind of those are the things that I said before that these shows need sometimes more than worrying about having more superheroes in it. Having some conflict that just makes sense besides the actual superhero supervillain conflict is pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah, and they have a respect for each other, but then they also have this disagreement, and I thought that they handled that well of making it
Hmm.
like a respectful disagreement rather than just like people that hate each other or something. So it
Yeah,
was a good way to
totally.
bring some tension in. Yeah.
Definitely.
Uh, and I like Alex. She had some good scenes. She had some good fight scenes here. I thought they handled that really well, and I thought that actually looked like some pretty good fighting action. Because last season it wasn't always great. It was usually pretty good, but this one I thought Alex really looked pretty good on that stuff. And then another thing I like is in the show I really like Kat Grant. I didn't
Mm.
know that I would, but over last season I really came to like her and her interactions with Kara and stuff.
Yeah.
But now Kat had her farewell, so she's going to be off doing something else, and she'll only be coming back for certain episodes. So I like her as a character. I'm going to miss her a little bit when she's not in, every single week.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's a female, centric show, and it was pretty cool to have kind of a female heavy character when she, was doing her day to day job for Supergirl. So that could be missed.
Right. And now I'm still waiting to feel out how I like Kara as a reporter.
Hmm.
So I'm afraid it might be getting a little bit too close to Clark Kent instead of, Kara having her own kind of thing. But I'll let it play out, see how they do. I did like the introduction of Snapper Carr. I thought he has, he definitely jumps off the screen. He's a very potent character. And so I think it's going to be nice to get to know him and maybe peel back some more layers of him throughout this season. So I am kind of excited about that angle.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, the actual character back in the old school comics and the cartoon as well was a pretty lame character. Like, when your nickname is about snapping, you're not exactly an edgy character. But it's kind of a blank slate. They could do what they want. And I know this actor from other TV shows and stuff, and he usually does a good job. So he should do something pretty good with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see where they go with him. James did not get much to do at all until the very end of the episode, and then he came in and said he's going to have, I think, Cat Grant's job. So I guess somehow he's like the CEO of Catco, maybe. So
Interesting.
I'm not really sure what that is, but the episode basically was without James at all until
Hmm.
the very end. So to me, that was weird because
Yeah.
Kara and James like pretty quickly just broke up. I was surprised by that, and now he was barely even in the episode. So we
Yeah.
know where James is headed. It's going to be, so spoiler alert if you don't want to hear anything about this, but this is in their official promotion. He's going to be headed towards being the Guardian and being like a
Hmm.
vigilante. So I guess in the next episode or so they're going to set that up, but it's just weird. I've been very surprised what they did with James in these first two episodes. Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, and then also to have, like you're saying, him turn into Guardian. So what, we're gonna get some big story in the next episode or two why he would become a superhero or a vigilante. I don't know. Like, it seems like they're putting a little too many of these characters, like in a lot of these CW shows, into having to be part of the action. And like I was saying before, there's nothing wrong with being a really good supporting character because that stuff can be, leaps and bounds more interesting than just a standard superhero fight.
Hmm. Yeah, and I do. So I'm still liking the show. I'm looking forward to it, but it does seem like in season two, they've really started a lot of new things instead of really continuing season one. Like
Yeah.
season one set up a few things with Kara and James' relationship, and Kat had gotten to a certain place, and the person in the pod, and they really haven't followed up on any of those. And in fact, they've reversed course on like the Kara James relationship. So
Hmm.
it seems like in season two they sort of just said, "Here's what we want to do in season two," and it doesn't really matter what they had set up in season one. Um,
Hmm.
so now, if those ideas were good ideas for what to do in season two, then we'll be cool with it. But it's just a little bit odd right now that they aren't following the momentum that was set up in season one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's almost like it might have something to do with the fact that it changed networks. I'm sure a lot of the creative team's
Hmm.
still the same, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit more. Let's try and make it more like this, from the higher up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see what they do with it. Definitely, it's off to a decent start though. It's getting good
Hmm.
ratings and reviews. So, I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
Yep, yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Ratings are solid for a Monday on CW. They've dropped down from CBS, obviously, but they're still good enough. It's good stuff for CW, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll see where they go with it, and I'm very excited for the next episode because we get President Linda Carter.
Yeah, I saw some trailer footage, and man, she still looks great. I don't know what her workout regimen is or her diet, but for her age, she's looking
Or,
pretty great.
yeah, might be
Yeah,
some other things involved in there too, but
that's true. That's true. But yeah, there's a lot of buzz on social media about that, and it's cool to see her getting a role in another DC property.
yep, looking forward to that. So, all right, we'll have to check in with that later.
All right, sounds good.